Hello crafty family, and welcome to another tutorial by She So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, I wanted to share my favorite large Kirklands decor pieces for Christmas and the holidays. Now to get you all started, I have included the full supply list in the description box, and I've separated each project into chapters so you can choose the projects that you are most excited to create. I do apologize for my voice, I am getting over a cold, but let's jump into the projects today. Here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now, I absolutely love the holiday collage of trees and the cheerful phrase on top. Now, this piece was $24.99, but I knew I could recreate it with just a few items from the Dollar Tree and some scrapbook paper. Now, for this project, we'll start with a pack of tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We'll need a sheet of black foam core board from the Dollar Tree, and an assortment of scrapbook paper and fabric in different patterns. Now the first thing we're going to do is to lay out our Surebonder silicone mat and grab 34 of those tumbling tower blocks from the package. And then we're going to separate them into two groups of 10 and two groups of 7. So now grab your straight edge and your glue gun, and you want to start to adhere together the strip of 7 blocks. Now you do want to make sure that you wipe away any glue that oozes out in between them as you go. Now we're going to repeat this for a second 7-block set and also for 2 10-block sets. So now go ahead and grab your carpenter square, which is also available at the Dollar Tree, and you're going to start to adhere those sticks together to form your frame. Now when adhering your frame together, you do want to make sure that the shorter sticks are in between the 2 larger sticks. Now this carpenter square is super handy, and it helps to make sure that all your corners are at 90 degrees. Now when your frame is all assembled, just set it to the side to completely dry. Now once it is dry, we can paint the frame, and I'll be using this black acrylic paint. Now all you want to do is apply 1 to 2 coats to the outside, the inside, and the front of the frame, and you do want to let this sit to completely dry. So now that we can handle the frame, we're going to grab that foam board and we're just going to place that frame right on top. Now we are going to line it up with the corner, and we want to trace the outside of the frame onto the board with a pencil. And then go ahead and grab your ruler and X-Acto knife, and you want to cut the piece out along those lines that you traced. Now after it is completely cut out, just trim off an extra ½ inch or so off one of the short sides and one of the long sides so that board doesn't peek out behind the frame. So now you want to place the frame on top, and you want to place a mark at the 4 corners so you know where the center is for your decorations. Now the first thing that we're going to add are the words across the top, and I sometimes freehand this by sight, but I wanted to share a hack I sometimes use to get an exact replica. What I do is I plug my laptop into my TV to enlarge the image, and I lightly trace the wording onto a few sheets of paper using a very dull tip pencil. Now I've done this so many times for lettering, and that if it's too large to print, this always works out perfect for me. You just want to be careful. Don't use any sharp point or ballpoint pens, of course, and you can also use a Cricut or other cutting machine if you have one. So here is my traced copy of all of the words. So now we're just going to use some of this painter's tape, and I'm going to secure the traced sheet onto the board. Then I'm going to take an embossing tool, or you can use a ballpoint pen, and you want to trace over the letters so the indentation is transferred onto that foam board. And then here I'm just going to take this marker pen from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to trace and outline those letters so we can see them better. So now that it is all traced out, I'm going to take my acrylic paint pen and I'm going to fill in all of those words. Now I picked these paint pens up from Amazon in a 10-pack, and I'll put the link in the description box below. So now we can start to add our tree accents. Now I'm going to use an assortment of scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby for 25 cents, or these sheets that I got from, that I printed off my printer. So my first tree will be the center tree, and I'm just going to cut it to size, and I'm going to fold it over without creasing the center. And then I'm just going to cut out a Christmas tree shape, and you can cut out any shape of your choice. And then you want to take the other sheets and you want to cut out trees of different shapes and sizes. And I'm just kind of following the design mix of my inspiration piece. And you just want to cut and continue to add those mix of trees to your collage. Now I also had some burlap pieces on hand, so what I did is I doubled it up, and what I'm going to do is cut a half tree shape out on the folded side, just like we did for the paper trees. Now you want to make sure that we do cut 2 trees from this burlap. So now that our pieces are cut, just sit those to the side. Now we're going to be adding that frame to the board, and all we want to do is apply hot glue around the back of the frame, and we want to place it on top of our foam board. Now we do want to make sure that it's nice and even, and once it is, we're just going to apply another layer of that hot glue around the edges for added security. Now to add all of our paper trees, I'm simply going to be using a standard glue stick to do this. You just want to apply it to the back of the tree, and we're going to place the tallest tree right in the center. And then we're just going to continue to apply the rest of those paper trees to the board. And then finally, we're going to add our burlap trees last, and I'm going to be using hot glue to attach these. And here are all of our trees applied. Now to hang our piece, I will be hot gluing a piece of jute string with knotted ends. So I'm going to place it right in the center, and I'm going to hot glue that into place. Now I had a scrap of black foam, so I'm just going to cover those glued ends to give it a nice clean look. And now you are finished. And here is the comparison. Now the Kirklands version is on the top and my creation is on the bottom. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now you can take your piece and place it on display. Now I am so loving all of the details in this piece, and it was super easy to make. Now what I really love is all of the combination of the patterns and the textures, and they look great together, making this piece super festive, and also it makes a great gift. Now here's the inspiration photo for this project. Now I absolutely love the rustic look of the wood panels in this piece and the galvanized accents on the scarf and the hat. Now this piece was marked at $29.99 on the site, but I knew I could recreate it using just a few items from the Dollar Tree. Now for this project, we'll start with this foam board from the Dollar Tree. We'll need a sheet of white poster board from the Dollar Tree that we'll make into this galvanized sheet. And we'll need these 12-inch dowels from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is to take our foam board, and we want to mark the height of each tier of the snowman. Now the bottom will be at 8 inches high, the middle will be at about 6 inches high, and the top will be 4 inches high. Now in order to start with a round base, I'm just going to use the Dollar Tree pizza pan as a guide. Now what I'm doing is just marking the rounded sides evenly, and then for the next 2 tiers I'm just going to make the sections slightly more narrow, and I'm going to use those height marks as a guide. Now when all the sections are marked, we can cut out the body of our snowman, and to do this we're just going to use an X-Acto knife with a sharp blade. Now make sure you don't throw out those scraps because we will be using those later. Now once our snowman is fully cut out, you want to make any adjustments to the shape as needed. So next we can start making the plank accents. Now I'm going to start in the middle, and you want to take your ruler and you want to mark a line right down the center of the snowman, and then make an additional plank line on each side about 3 inches away from that center line. So once we made our 3 lines, we are going to paint those lines onto the board. Now I will be using this elephant gray acrylic paint to do this. Now you just want to apply the paint on top of those lines that you made, and you want to be kind of imperfect since we're going for a rustic weathered look. Now after all of our lines have been painted, we're going to take our chip brush, and what we want to do is just apply a tiny bit of that paint to the brush, and we want to dry brush each plank along with the grain. And once our dry brushing has fully dried, we are going to apply a 5-gallon paint stick down the back, and this will prevent our snowman from bowing. You just want to apply some hot glue to that paint stick and press it into place in the center. And you can see here it is nice and flat. So now what I'm doing is drawing the facial features on the snowman. Now I'm just going to start by drawing a smile for our guy here, and then I'm going to draw on a carrot style nose. And then I'm going to draw the eyes right on top. And then all I'm doing here is I'm just going to go over those drawn features with a black Sharpie, or you can use a paint pen. Now for the nose, I'm just going to partially outline it because I want it to look kind of like a shadow. Now I'm going to start painting, and I will start with the nose, and I'll be using Harvest Orange acrylic paint, and I'm just going to use a small brush and apply a couple of layers to the paint to the nose, and then let it completely dry. So now I'm grabbing one of those scrap pieces of that foam board, and I'm going to work on the snowman's hat. And so for this small piece, I'll be working on the brim of the hat, which is kind of shaped like a bowling pin. Now once it's all drawn, just go ahead and grab your X-Acto knife and then cut that piece out. So now I'm going to grab another scrap, and we'll be making the top of the hat with this piece. So I'm just going to take that brim piece, and I want to lay it on the top of it near the bottom, and then draw on the shape of the hat. Now I'm just looking at my inspiration photo, just eyeballing it, trying to get a shape to match. So then we're just going to go ahead and cut it out, and we want to leave about 1 inch or so at the bottom so you can attach it to the brim. And once both pieces sit well together, we can attach the top of the hat to the brim with a bit of hot glue. Now once the pieces are dry, we're going to take some black acrylic paint, and I want to paint around the outside edge and also about a 1-inch band around the front of each piece of the hat. Now while we're painting, we're going to go ahead and take 2 of those 12-inch skewers, and we're going to cut about 2 inches off each end. Now these will be for the arms of our snowman. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue that piece that we cut off as shown here to the skewer to make kind of a hand. And we just want to apply hot glue to secure it in place initially, and then lay that down and apply an additional squeeze of that hot glue to that joint to secure it. Now we're going to repeat this with the other skewer. Now once this first layer of hot glue dries, flip them over, apply another layer, and this should hold those pieces nice and securely together. Now once they are dry, you can go ahead and paint them with a layer of that black acrylic paint and then set them off to the side. So now we can start working on our galvanized accents. Now I created this using a sheet of Dollar Tree white poster board. I embossed it with 1/2-inch lines on the back and then spray painted the front with silver spray paint. Now while it was wet, I dabbed it with a paper towel to create some texture. Now I will place a link to my instructional video on how to do this in the upper right hand corner of this video and also in my description box below. So now we're going to go ahead and take that hat piece and we want to lay it on top of the poster board, and we want to trace the top portion of the hat onto the poster board. Now once the top of the hat is traced, we're going to go ahead and trace on the brim piece as well. Now we're just going to go ahead and cut that portion of the poster board out, and once those pieces are cut out, we can go ahead and use an X-Acto knife or some scissors, and you can cut each one of your pieces down to size. So now you can take your cutout pieces and test fit them on your foam board hat piece. Now once you do that, you're just going to go ahead and mark and trim as needed and make sure that they're slightly smaller than the foam board. Now for that bottom edge, just run your fingers across it to get that crease, and you want to press it against the brim, and you can cut a line where it is marked. And now you can see that it fits perfectly. Now we're going to do the same thing with the brim piece. So now that the pieces are all cut, we can go ahead and fan fold them on those embossed lines that we made when we created the sheet, and this makes sure that the folds are nice and even. Now we're going to open them back up, and we are going to hot glue them in place, and we want to apply glue to the folds that come in contact with the foam board. You just don't want to lay it flat and press it down. You just want to place the glue on the folds of that poster board piece. Now once that top is done, we can fan fold and apply that brim piece, and we're going to do that the same way. And now your hat piece has all the pieces applied. Now our inspiration piece on our snowman had the brim piece in a black color, so I'll be using that black acrylic paint to paint over the brim piece. And here is our hat all finished. You just want to let it dry. So while that is drying, go ahead and grab that poster board again, and we're going to cut some strips out for our scarf. Now measure and cut out a 2.5-inch strip. And then for our second cut, we're going to cut it kind of at a curve, and this will look like our snowman's flowing scarf. And then we can go ahead and fan fold all of those pieces. So now go ahead and grab your snowman and we can cut and fit all of the pieces. Now here is a good time to trim off all of the edges to fit the space on your snowman. Then once everything looks good, we can start to apply the pieces in place with glue. You just want to keep in mind to apply the glue to the folds that touch the board for the best adhesion. We're just going to first apply the neck piece around, and we don't want to press it too much on that left side because we'll be taking this straight piece and we'll kind of snugly fit it in under there before that glue completely sets. And then just apply hot glue to that piece on those folds and gently secure it in place. And then finally, our flowing piece, we're going to sit this on top of the neck piece and we're going to apply this in place on those folds with hot glue. And then finally go back to make sure all the very edges are secured as well. So now we can add our hat to the snowman. Now you just want to apply some hot glue to the back of the hat and you want to place it right on top of the snowman. Now I needed to add some rosy cheeks to my snowman, so I used some of this pink acrylic paint and I'm just going to dry brush it on with very little paint and I'm just going to apply it in a circular motion. Now off camera, I also did cut out this little snowflake from that poster board as well, and you can make any snowflake pattern that you like. You just want to hot glue it to the bottom left hand corner of the snowman. So now we can add our rust accents to the metal, and I'm going to use a dark brown and a red acrylic paint. Now I'm just going to mix and blend the two colors, but I thought it needed to be a little darker, so I'm also going to add a touch of black acrylic paint as well. Then you want to just randomly apply those paints along the edges and folds of those metallic pieces on the scarf, the snowflake, and the hat. There's no rhyme or reason to this. You could do it to the level and amount that your heart desires. Now once this all dries, we're going to move on to the next step and add those arms. You just want to lay the painted dowel pieces on the back of the snowman facing at an upward angle, and we're just going to secure them into place with hot glue. And here it is all put together. Now you know this project would not be complete without covering up the back, so I'm going to be using some brown craft paper to cover all of the raw work. Now all you're going to do is just apply some hot glue around the edges and along the center and open spaces in little sections at a time, and then press that paper into place. Now when applying the glue, you just want to smooth it out as you go, and this will help you to avoid any wrinkles. Now once the paper is all glued into place, we can just trim off the excess with our X-Acto knife. Now you just want to trim off the paper close to the snowman's edge all the way around, and just be careful, don't cut off the snowman's arms. And now we are ready to display it. So here is my $30 inspiration piece on the left and my $3 Dollar Tree version on the right. Now, was this a hit or a miss? Let me know in the comments below. I really hope that you all are enjoying these crafts so far, but I wanted to pop in really quick and let you all know that you could follow me on all of these platforms as She So CraftDee. So now let's jump right into that next DIY. Here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now I love the simplicity and clean look of this piece, and the contrast between the glitter words and the wood backing really stand out. That beaded handle is also a great plus. Now this item was listed at $26.99, but I know we can make it for a lot less. Now for this project, we'll start with a piece of black foam board from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use this Merry Christmas Gold glitter sign from the Dollar Tree. Some of this dark wood contact paper, and this is from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to be using some of these white wood beads from Walmart. Now the first thing we're going to do is take our Merry Christmas sign, and we want to remove all of those tags and strings from the sign. Then to stop that glitter shed, we're going to take some Mod Podge, and we want to apply a coat to the entire front of the piece, and we want to let that dry. Now once the front is dry, we are going to apply a layer to the back as well. And now that it's all dry, we need to make a frame for it. Now as you can see, it is much too large for the pizza pan, so we're going to make our own frame from that black foam board. So just go ahead and place that sign on the foam board, and we are going to take our ruler and mark the center. And then we're going to mark each side about 1.5 inches from the edge where the letters end. Then to make our circle frame, you just want to take a piece of string and tie it to a pencil. We want to pin it in the center of the board and then draw the circle. Then to outline our circle, we're just going to use one of these Dollar Tree markers, and we're just going to go over the circle the same way. So now we're going to grab the X-Acto knife, and we want to carefully cut that circle out of the board. So now that our circle is done, we can grab that contact paper, and we're going to cut a piece wide enough to cover the width of our circle. So just place it on top and then cut your piece out. Now you can certainly apply this as one sheet, but I wanted to create a plank look just like our inspiration piece. So to make our planks, what we're going to do is we're going to mark the paper at the half point. And then we're just going to cut that in half, and then we're going to take those cut strips and cut them in half once again, and you're going to end up with 4 equal strips. So then we're going to grab our circle and take our ruler, and we want to mark the center line of that circle board. And we can start applying our strips. We're just going to line it up along that center line. Now you do want to carefully place this in place, and you want to smooth out the contact paper on both ends. Now this contact paper is really easy to work with, and it comes back up if you make an error. So we just want to apply as smoothly as possible. Now to apply that second strip, you want to leave a small gap in between the pieces to create a plank look. And then you want to repeat this for the 2 remaining strips. Now once that's all done, we can go around the edge, and we're going to trim off the excess. We want to leave about 1 inch or so on the edge. And then I'm going to go around the edge, and I'm going to make a few snips in the trim so it can easily fold over to the back. So my inspiration piece had a plain white trim around it, but I decided to add some of this nautical rope to trim around my piece. Now all you want to do is start applying hot glue around the edge of the circle and apply the rope as you go. Now at the point where the ends meet, you just want to trim the end down and apply a little bit of hot glue to the end to keep it from unraveling. And then you can just secure the end right into place. So now we can go ahead and apply that Merry Christmas sign, and we need to cover those 2 hang holes. So I'll be using some of this glitter ribbon. I'm just going to cut a few small pieces, and I'm going to flip the sign over and hot glue them right over the holes on the back of the sign. And now we can adhere the sign to the board. Now all I'm going to do is apply a little bit of hot glue to a few sections at the top of that sign, and I want to place it into place. Now once that top is adhered, we're going to add a few more bits of the hot glue to the bottom to finish it off. Now once everything is into place, we can start to work on our beaded hanger. Now to start, we're just going to use some of these beads, and we're going to use some of this jute string. Now we're going to start to add on about 24 beads for this strand of beads. And once all of them are strung on, we're just going to tie the ends in a knot. Now we're going to flip our sign over, and we're going to take the strand and we want to center it on the back of it, and then add a line of hot glue to secure each one of those strands into place. And you all know I love a finished look, so I'll be covering the back with some craft paper. You just want to apply some hot glue around the edge of the frame, and you want to start to add that craft paper to the back in small sections at a time. Now once all of that craft paper is applied, you just trim off all of the excess with an X-Acto knife. And once it's all trimmed, here is what it looks like. Now the Kirklands version is on the left and my version is on the right. It's so amazing what you can do with Dollar Tree items to make a similar piece on a budget. So now all you have to do is hang it up in your favorite spot. Now I really love how the plank look turned out in this piece. And these Christmas signs are so much fun to craft with. And the rope trim really looks great. Now if you want to add a little extra pizzazz, you could place a few holiday picks on the bottom for the Christmas season. Now here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now I absolutely love the rustic look of the wood panels in this piece, and the glitter Christmas gives it that little hint of holiday cheer. Now this piece was priced at $84.99, but I knew I could recreate it using Dollar Tree and other inexpensive supplies. Now for this project, we'll start with this Merry Christmas sign from the Dollar Tree, and we'll also need some foam board from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is work on the sign, and I'm going to start by removing all of those tags. And then we can start cutting the sign apart. Now you can use an X-Acto knife, but I found that using just some regular old sharp scissors will work great. Now we will be using the Christmas portion of this sign for this project. So now we're going to seal in that glitter, and we're going to be using this Mod Podge. Now what you want to do is apply a layer to the entire front of the sign, and you also want to put a light layer on the back as well. Now once that's done, you can go ahead and sit the piece to the side to dry. So now grab your foam board, and we're going to apply a very light coat of Mod Podge to the entire surface. Now this will help seal in that paper surface and minimize any bowing. Now this foam board piece has been cut to 20 inches by 14.5. Now once that foam board is nice and dry, it may bow just slightly, but I already plan to place paint sticks on the back to make everything nice and flat. Now I'm just going to place one of the paint sticks on each side, and I want to apply it with some hot glue. And now that they are applied, you'll see that the edge is nice and even. So now we can start marking where we want our planks to go. So you just take a ruler, and what you want to do is make a mark every 2 inches on the top and bottom of the board. And now you're just going to draw a line and connect all of those marks you made. And here are all of my lines, and we'll use those as a guide. Now to make the planks, I will be using this antique Waverly wax, and I'll also use some clear wax that I'll mix with this elephant gray acrylic. Now I'm just going to place some in some bowls, and make sure to mix 3 parts clear to 1 part paint. So now we can start adding our planks to the foam board, and I'm going to be using this painter's tape to make sure that the planks are nice and even. And then take your chip brush, and you can start applying the antique wax lightly to the board, and just use your chip brush to make a nice wood texture. And then go ahead and remove that tape, and you can apply it to another plank on the board, and you could just add these in a few random places on the board. And now that we're done with the antique color, what we're going to do is we're going to take that gray color, and we're going to apply it in the same way in just a few planks on the board. And once your gray planks are done, I added a little bit of the darker gray to the clear wax, and I'm just going to dry brush this on to one of the planks so it looks like it's an aged white color. And you can even dry brush on the antique wax too. It's all up to you. Now when they are just about dry, you can take some acrylic white paint, and I'm just going to dab it onto a fresh brush, and I want to lightly go over the entire board with the grain to give it a nice weathered look. And now when that's done, just set it to the side to dry. So now we can work on the frame trim. Now I'm going to take a scrap of that foam board left over, and I'm going to make some marks 1.25 inches apart on the short ends. And then I'm going to draw a line using the ruler to connect the marks. Now we're going to need a total of 4 strips as shown here. So now you can use your ruler and your X-Acto knife to cut the strips. Now we'll also need 4 1/4-inch strips as well to accent our frame. Now you just want to make sure 2 of your frame pieces are 21 inches and the other 2 are 15.5 inches. So now I wanted miter corners on a frame, so I'm taking a square piece of paper, folding it into a triangle, and I'm going to use that to cut the angle and mark the angle for my corners. And I'm going to repeat this for all of the corners of my frame pieces. And here are all my pieces nice and marked. So now you just take your ruler and your X-Acto knife, and you want to trim those pieces as you mark them. So now that they are all trimmed, we can take our 1/4-inch pieces, and what we want to do is hot glue them down the center of each one of those frame pieces. And then once those are all applied, you just want to trim off the excess. So now that the pieces are all nice and trimmed, go ahead and test fit the pieces on the board just to make sure that they will fit properly. Then if everything looks good, just start to put the frame together by hot gluing all of the corners. So now that your frame is all assembled, we could just go ahead and grab our board. And now what you're going to do is just apply hot glue all around the board and place your frame right on top to secure it. So now we can finally add our Christmas sign right on top. We're just going to make sure it's nice and centered and then add hot glue to the back and press it into place. Now my planks didn't stand out as much as I would have liked, so what I'm going to do is lightly outline the planks with this black Sharpie. Now ideally you should do this before adding your frame, but this was a last minute decision that I decided to add. Also, I found that lining them freehand looks so much more natural than using a ruler, and you can also dry brush over the lines to blend them in when you are done. And here is our Christmas sign in all its shimmer. I just love how this turned out. Now I love how this foam board can easily be crafted into this beautiful piece, and it really makes a statement. And this sign from the Dollar Tree was the perfect fit for this project. Now it's so hard to believe that you can have this look for under $3. What a great deal. Here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now this piece caught my eye with the metal look, and combined with the beads, it really looks rustic and high-end. Now this piece was marked at $29.99, but I knew I could recreate it using my faux metal technique along with a few Dollar Tree supplies and some beads. Now for this project, we'll start with these long skewers from the Dollar Tree. And we'll also need some poster board from the Dollar Tree that we'll make into this metal looking sheet. Now I also will be using some 16mm beads, and I got these in bulk from Amazon. So we're going to start by creating this metal sheet from the poster board. Now all I did was spray paint the board with silver spray paint, then dab it with a paper towel when wet. Now I'll link the full tutorial in the upper right hand corner of this video and also in the description box below. Now to make sure we cut out our piece for the cone evenly, we're going to cut a piece of string the length of that short side of the poster board to use as a guide. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my board around, and I'm just going to hold one end of the string in the corner of that short side of the board and the other end holding a pencil, and I'm going to draw a curve from that corner to the other edge of the board. And then just cut that shape out with scissors. Now you just want to lay that piece nice and flat, and in order to form your cone, you just want to roll it up very tight. And then you want to adjust your cone so that the seam is straight. And once it's straight, just apply some painter's tape in place to hold it. Now once you're satisfied with the shape, go ahead and you can grab your hot glue and secure that edge seam in place. Now you do want to make sure that you apply it to the inside loose edges as well of the cone. Now we will be dividing this into 4 pieces. So my tree measures about 22 inches. So I'm going to cut it in 4 sections about 5.5 inches each. So I'm just going to measure the bottom section first, and I want to mark it all the way around with a pencil. And then I want to draw a line and connect all of my marks together. And then I want to go ahead and repeat the process for the next 2 rows until you have 4 equal sections. And now I'm just going to take a marker and I'm just making the line easier to see. Now in order to cut these apart without damaging, creasing, or folding the cone, you want to stuff it with some paper real firm, and then take your X-Acto knife with a really sharp blade and you want to carefully cut the sections apart. Now when you remove it, you want to make sure you remove any gaps in the layers with hot glue. And then just make your 2 last cuts. And now you have your 4 sections. Now in order to create that 1-inch gap between the layers, I'm going to be cutting a 1/2 inch off each of the cut edges. Now you just want to make your marks and you want to stuff it with paper once again. And then what you want to do is you want to trim off 1/2 inch of all of the cut ends. Now you'll trim off both sides of the center pieces and one side of the top and the bottom. And now we have all of our ends trimmed down. So now we can add our skewers, but first we're going to mark 4 equal corners on that bottom piece of the tree with a marker. And then you can add some hot glue to one of the skewers and place it inside that bottom piece, and you want to align it with one of those marks you made. And then add those other 3 skewers on the other 3 markings, and this is what it should look like. So now take that next section of your tree, you want to mark that in quarters as well, and then slide it onto the skewers, making sure you line up those back seams. Then you want to make sure your spacing is nice and neat, about 1 inch apart, and then secure that piece into place along those quarter markings that you made with hot glue. And then you want to repeat this for your 3rd piece. Now for the top, you just want to measure and then trim down the top of the skewers. Now once you mark it and trim it down, what you want to do is you want to add a generous amount of hot glue to the top, and then once that's added, you can put your top on, and you want to make sure that everything is aligned with the seams. And now that this is done and setting, we can put it to the side and start working on our beads. Now these are 16mm beads, and the link to these are in the description box below. Now to paint these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to string them on this wire that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now once these are all strung, what I'm going to do is take them out to paint, and I'll be using this Krylon Burgundy spray paint, or you can use acrylic paint and paint these by hand. And here are my beads all painted. Now go ahead and you can just remove them from the wire. Now I did notice that the inside will be seen inside of our cone, so make sure you go ahead and give it a spray of silver paint on the inside before adding your beads. Now while that dries, I'm going to start stringing our beads together that will be added to our tree. You just want to cut a piece of wire and start adding the beads so they'll fit each section. Now I found that the bead count would be about 8 beads for the top, 14 for the middle, and 22 for the bottom. Now once all the beads are strung, I'm going to be painting the skewers on my tree with this dark brown color. Now you just want to carefully paint all the sides of the exposed skewers with a fine brush. Now you do want to save this step for last, because when you paint the inside of your cone, the spray paint can also hit the skewers, so make sure you do this after you paint the inside of your tree cone. And here's everything painted. So now that they're dry, we can go ahead and start adding those beads. Now you just want to wrap them around the skewers and you want to twist the wire to secure them firmly into place. And then you just want to add a few dots of hot glue under the beads to keep them from shifting. Now you can clip the end of the wires when this section is done, and you will repeat this for the other two sections. Now once they are all added, I am just going to touch up my beads where I have missed some spots, because sometimes when you spray paint them it can have some exposed wood, so we're just going to touch that up. So now what I'm going to do now, I didn't have a star, so I'm going to cut one out of foam board. So once I draw it out on a piece of foam board, I'm just going to cut it out with my X-Acto knife. And then what I'm going to do is paint it the same color as my beads. And now all you have to do is add your star on the top, and all you have to do is place a generous amount of that hot glue and sit that star right on top, and put some hot glue on the back near the bottom as well. And once that dries, you're all done with this project. So now you can place your beautiful creation on display. Now, how amazing did this turn out? Now this 2-foot tall tree looks absolutely stunning, and I really love that it looks like it's made from metal. But you guys have to let me know which one of these Kirkland dupes was your favorite today. Let me know in the comments below. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you don't want to miss the next video, click that subscribe button or my She So CraftDee logo on your screen and hit the bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. It doesn't cost a thing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.